Mayor Kim Smith.
I am here. Sorry, my audio wasn't working, but now it is.
I knew you were there. That's why I was waiting. We're good. Larry Jurassic. President. Jared Holter. Here. Sabrina Steger.
Here.
This time, I will consider and take potential action on minutes from the previous meeting. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second. Motion by Larry, seconded by myself. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Sorry about that, Mayor. I got to remember that there's a delay. So, at this time, we have public input. If you would like to provide public input, please step up. Okay, please step up to the podium. Identify your name and your address, and you will have 3 minutes. Is there anyone for public input? Second call for public input. See anyone online?
There is no one online.
Okay, third and final call for public input. Public input is closed. Item number 4, request for adjustment to utility charges for 1605 Hickory Street. Jared.
Thank you. In your packet tonight, I do have a utility bill from 1605 Hickory Street. This is for Ms. Susan Jacobson, who is with us tonight in the audience. As you can see on page 5, she did receive her July 1st, 2022 utility bill in the amount of $514.10. You can see page 6, the utility bill for the quarter previous was $131.44. We did have utility staff go out to the residents and actually pull the meter. Was found to be accurate within our parameters, which are included within your packet tonight. We do have, our meters do convey 45 days worth of 1 hour readings. There was nothing outside of that 45 days. So the leak or water usage had to have occurred between April 11th and June 6th, as called out by Frank Fisher, who's our meter tech in the packet tonight. Just reading out of our leak adjustment policy that the council approved on March 8th of 2016. If the reason for excessive water cannot be detected or determined by city utility staff or licensed plumber, then the homeowner will be responsible regardless of the water used for full amount of water consumption listed on the quarterly bill. They also that we would charge in full if once a leak is found and if they have not corrected the leak, but that's not in this instance. So I guess it'd be up to the chair if you wanted to have the homeowner come up and
Sure, absolutely.
some insight.
Please come forward. Is her microphone on?
So I'm Susan. I just want to make one correction. The address is 1065, not 1605.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. And yes, I am requesting that part of this bill be waived. As he said, the inspector did come out. He first tested for leaks, checked all the faucets, the water heater, the water softener, the toilets. He found absolutely no leaks, said he couldn't find anything that would show that there had been excessive water use. He did then take the meter in and test it, said he didn't find anything wrong with that. I guess the thing that really upsets me is, first of all, how does this even happen? And he said, well, you could have a leak and it just goes away. I've never had a leak just go away. If I have a leaky tire, it doesn't go away. My washing machine leaks, it doesn't fix itself. Second thing that really upsets me with this is there's no data. I said, can you give me a printout of the data for that time period? He's like, no, we don't have that data anymore. We only keep it for 45 days. So I said, you're charging me for something you can't document because you don't have the data anymore. He said, yeah, that's right. Like, how does that happen? How do you charge someone for something you can't even provide data on. I mean, to me, that's not a good business practice. And I stopped out to the water department on Friday to get the current history for the last couple of months going forward now. Data wasn't available. I said, how have you not been tracking it? Yeah, but I can't give it to you because the gentleman who's out with the truck has the data with him. I said, well, when did he get back? About 2:30. I said, can I have it then? No, because we close at 3 and I won't have it back in the system by then. She said, but I'll email it to you if I get it. I still got nothing. So I'm just frustrated all the way around. And the worst part is I'm told this can happen again. There's no way to prevent it. And how do you expect people to pay $500 a quarter for water when the history doesn't show it? So that's my frustration with this, is I did go ahead and pay what I normally would have been charged, plus some additional, because I did check with my neighbors and they all said, yes, their water bills did go up slightly. And I said, I can live with that. Cost of living, everything goes up. But to pay $500 and not knowing whether next quarter I'm going to have the same thing again, I just don't think it's reasonable.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yes, go ahead, Drew.
So our meters, our system does not, the meter itself keeps 45 days worth of data within the meter. And then as a new day, as each hour comes on, it dumps the hour from it 45 days behind it. We have looked at a system of having towers where we could read everybody's meter without ever leaving the public works facility. And it was at that time, we haven't looked at it for about 2 years now. It's going to be about a $400,000 investment. So we did not bring that forward. We do only read for actual billing every quarter. We do go out and try and read every month to try to see if we can find which meters aren't, sometimes the batteries go out. We have difficulties. We try and get those taken care of before we do the actual read. But with that, we only have 45 days worth of data. As far as on Friday, we actually went out to do our monthly read on Friday. And when that's happening, due to the system we have, we really can't go into the system while that data is out in the computer to go out and do the quarterly read. So I did talk to our staff and they were not able to get that data back in on Friday. I did not talk to them today, so I did not follow up today, but that was if we go into the data on when it's out for the mobile read during that day, then we have a chance of corrupting the data and we don't want to do that. So when we're out with our metering devices and the Public Service Commission, which controls our water system, and actually if the water goes through the meter, we really have to bill for it. We can, as long as we ensure that our metering device is not faulty, that water that goes through the meter has to get billed. We're not liable for knowing if there was a leak, if there was not a leak. Really, even with our leak policy, if we do find a leak, we only give a certain amount of adjustment, which we're allowed by the Public Service Commission. It still does not adjust the bill to a much lower point. So that's been our policy for a long time. That's been, as you can see, this policy from 2016 was actually updated in 2016. We've had that policy for about 20 years. So that is that's what we've been following.
Larry.
Yeah, the amount of water, what would this be equal to, like a swimming pool or?
Their usage, her normal usage is 1,069 100 cubic feet. And we build out on the high usage 6,391. So it's in the range of 5,000 gallons.
So it's 5 times more than what you normally use.
Yeah, there's her usage was approximately 5 times, a little bit over 5 times what the normal usage was. But that occurred all within approximately 6 or 7 week period.
So when I heard you say that the water is it's capturing the water that's flowing through the meter. And the meter is going to be very close to the structure, right?
Yeah, the meter is actually, well, I guess I don't know her exact situation, but typically it's right where it comes through the basement wall.
Okay. So if there had been a leak, one would think that it would have been fairly noticeable because I mean,
And-
it's far almost visually noticeable, I would think.
We have found over time, one of the things that, and I, we've seen things such as people, the neighbor coming over and borrowing water, leaving the outside faucet on. We've seen a toilet can run, water softener can run where then it uses more water. We've seen things like that, but ultimately we have to rely on our metering device. And if we find our metering device is correct, and the waters went through the meter, if we allow that we're going to do that, then someone could have left their hose on, and we would not. We would have to give everyone that comes in a credit, and that would have to be our policy.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out the actual mechanics of it, if you will, but yeah, I was thinking there, any kind of a change, guests coming over, it could be watering the yard, it could be a lot of different things, something being left on overnight with watering the yard. I don't know. I mean, the possibilities on how this could happen without a leak are substantial, but also, if this is, being captured by the meter, I just don't know how we can, my personal view is I don't know how we can alter off of the policy.
Jared, was this meter pulled and checked out at all?
It's on page 8 of your packet where Mr. Fisher, our meter tech, took the meter out and actually tested it. And tested very close to 101.25% in the high test, 100.7 in the medium test, and 99.8 on the low test.
All those are within standard.
Those are all within the standards, yeah.
So it's not a metering issue. So the water went through the meter. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I don't know what to say as far as, how that would happen, but if the meter is testing out, that water went through that meter.
So 5,000 gallons, that's a swimming pool. I mean, even if it leaked out in the yard, you'd have.
Yeah, I don't know.
And this
Well, I
was,
mean,
this was
water.
during early May and into the first part of June. I don't even know that my outside faucets were on yet. I know I wasn't watering my yard. I don't have underground irrigation. I have one person living in the home, myself. And I work full time, so. And both of my toilets, the one was just put in brand new last April and the one in the fall before that. Everything in the house is fairly new. And I mean, if I'd have gotten this bill and said, yeah, I can see that, it's summer, you water, you expect your October bill to be higher. But this, I'm like, this is just crazy. And to think that it could happen again next quarter. And there's no data.
Jared, has this come up on any other meters that it's jumped this drastic? I mean, 5 times normal usage?
We just had one on the board from Alter Credit Union about a year ago, and that was the same. Their meter was actually much more than this actually, but it's a bigger meter.
Now, is that a computerized meter or is that a digital or a mechanical meter?
They're ultrasonic now. There's no moving parts in them anymore. Used to be years ago, it had a wheel in the meter years ago, but those are not there anymore.
So with electrical,
The sealed unit.
any electrical problems at your house that
No.
surge or anything like that?
No?
So last year my house had a fairly substantial increase in one of its quarter's bills, but I know what it was. I didn't contest it because we had about a 6-week very dry period where I was watering my yard a lot. I mean, something I haven't had to do at all this year, but last year I did. That's just one example of how this can happen. But
Steve, was it 5 times your normal usage?
oh, I'd have to go back and look, but I prepared my wife saying we're gonna get a big water bill. So, yeah. I don't know the answer to that. In all honesty, my wife is my accountant. She does all the bills. So, yeah, but I mean, the bottom line is the water went through the meter. I'm convinced of it. I don't know what to say how this happened, but I gotta think if there was that much water that was leaking, that you would have noticed it. So I don't know how that water was used, but it came through the meter. And that's all we can go off of is the meter, especially if it tests out as being normal. If we're going to throw out meter readings, I don't know how we move forward for utility bills. If the meter's testing out as being within standard. Every single resident would be, have a motivation to contest it because we just did it, saying, well, my meter's not right either. Well, I don't know what to do other than to stay with, if the science is saying the meter was working, I mean, we have to charge for water usage. That's, yeah. You have something else or?
When's the next water meter reading due?
We just went out and read Friday for this quarter. I know they've been keeping track of Ms. Jacobson's location. I don't have the exact data, but I know that they've read it a couple times since this last bill went out.
Is there any way to provide any kind of records? I know obviously you said it dumped after 45 days, but as far as currently, in order to show if there's any kind of surge going on?
We'd have to pull the meter again because to get the 45-day data off the meter, we actually have to pull the meter and bring it back to the shop.
Is that something you could do?
We could go out there and pull it again, but I know the readings that they have taken, and I don't have the exact, like I said, don't have the exact data, but they haven't witnessed any further, like leaking again. The homeowner is right. We haven't seen any more leaks, or seen any more usage per se.
I don't know. I haven't gotten the data.
I think it would be nice to be transparent. That is something I think is a reasonable request.
Jared, the old meter has been pulled, correct? The old meter has been pulled?
Pulled the old meter and tested it.
Okay, is it put back in or?
Yeah, I'm almost positive they typically will put it back right back in.
Yeah, he put it back.
Yeah.
If it's
So was
tested,
it a newer meter that was replaced it?
No, they typically will put the old meter back in and intentionally we put the old meter intentionally back in just in case something would malfunction. If you're thinking it's a malfunction, it would be back in the same location and
yeah, but it was testing in the standard, so the meter itself isn't broken. So, I mean, did you have guests,
No.
kids, grandkids, something like that? I mean, it's,
And that's why I said, if I could, I'm like, it's April, May, early June. I'm like, I got nothing. And so that's why I asked for the data for that particular time period. Because I thought maybe I can connect something, but.
well, Ms. Jacobson, I mean, we'll have a vote here, but from my perspective, I don't know what to do. It's a conundrum. But if the meter's testing out, I almost think that we have to go with it. Otherwise, we'll be guessing from this point forward on anybody's water bill. I mean, but I would ask that the city keep a close watch and see if there's something that they see that might be screwy going on. So, I mean, if there's this huge surge in water on one particular property, I don't know.
Steve, can we put this off until the next reading comes in? and see if that gives us any indication.
Well, that's an option, but we're still stuck back with the fact that the meter tested out okay.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. At least we'll have more information for the latest information on it compared to the old. And if there's any jump or it's not, then it's got to be the meter. Or it's got to be usage.
Sabrina?
Yes, I would argue that we're not gonna have any more information really, because we're just gonna know, we're just gonna see her usage for these last 3 months. So we're never gonna be able to go back and see why this happened. I agree that what Steve said, it would be helpful to continue to check in with her to make sure that the usage does seem more appropriate, but we're not gonna be able to go back to see
Yeah.
why.
Yeah, I agree with that.
it's hard.
Anything else would just be a guess. I mean, the main piece of information that for me, that I have to really rely on was the meter accurate, and the meter was accurate. So we'd be guessing at why that usage went up, but that's all it would be. It would be a wild guess on any of us on why, but the meter says that water was used and the meter checked out. So by policy, unless we're going to make an exception, we have to charge the meter. But if we make an exception, I would warn that there's a real danger, because every citizen would be motivated to come in and say, well, mine was wrong too. I just can't prove it. So. So, what is the desire of the board?
I can make a motion that we deny the adjustment to utility charges for 1065 Hickory Street.
I'll second. I mean, I feel bad about it, but yeah. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay.
I'd like to request that they at least waive the late fee, because I was instructed not to pay the entire bill until this was discussed.
We will waive any late charges. Those we will waive, because you had informed us within a timely manner. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Jared. Thank you.
And that's typical. That's typical policy.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Please keep us informed if anything does happen on this again.
Thank you. All right, item number 5, sidewalk replacement policy in relation to city-owned boulevard trees. Jared.
Thank you. This was brought forward at the June meeting, had a elongated discussion regarding the sidewalk replacement program and the impacts for boulevard trees. We did have a couple things. I do have our city attorney, Amanda Jackson, with us tonight to answer any legal questions or liability or anything like that that we want to bring up, because that was part of the discussion at the last meeting. Also, we have brought forward Kevin Schubert's actually on the line tonight on the Zoom meeting, but he had updated our list of municipalities and what they had done. We had brought this forward when we changed the policy approximately 4 or 5 years ago. He had gotten hold of some of them, as you see. Some of them he could not confirm, but really nothing has really changed in any of those that we had used the last time. As you can see, it's kind of all over the board. There's ones that charge a property owner for all the repairs. There's some of them that are that they pay for everything. Some pay a percentage. So really none of that data has changed. So we don't have a lot of extra information that would be brought forward since the last discussion, but we are here to discuss this item again.
So did we determine what, based on, I guess past or, I guess current this year, maybe even approximately how much this would cost the city if we went the route of what it looks like the city of De Pere does, where the city would pay for damage caused by our own trees?
Kevin, are you on the line?
I am, Jared.
I think at the last meeting I quickly calculated it was about $12,000. Does that sound correct to you?
That does sound about right.
And I understand there'd be a variance. Some years it would be thousands more and others maybe thousands less.
Correct. We are actually in a neighborhood this year. The Sandalwood neighborhood is an area that has a lot of boulevard trees, and we do appear to have a lot of boulevard tree impacts in that neighborhood. So this is even a more larger year than some years.
Stephen, can I say something?
Yes, Mayor.
And I want to just clarify and point out too that if there is a change to this, I don't believe that it affects our expenditures. It would only affect our revenues, if someone can just confirm that.
So we do have special assessment revenues that come in under the general fund.
So the amount of money budgeted would be the same for the sidewalks, no matter what. It's just a matter if we're collecting revenues because of this, that would change.
If the city moved forward with a change that would include paying for all of the sidewalk costs when it involves a boulevard tree versus 50%, we would lose approximately $12,000 more in revenue. But we have budgeted all of the costs, and we continually budget all the costs through our capital improvements program to make those repairs, but we would not be bringing in the revenue then for the other half of the cost of a sidewalk stone that was impacted by a boulevard tree, if that makes sense to everyone.
It does. Anyone else have questions on it? Okay. So Sabrina, do you see that if we were to consider a change in policy, that it would have a significant impact on the city?
No, and that $12,000 really is over, what is it, 30 years, 20 years that we push it out for the special assessments. So we receive a small portion every year of those special assessments. They continue on. I think it's 20 years.
Yeah, I think sidewalk repairs are a 9 or 10 year because they're a repair. They're a little different than the normal 20 years for the bonding, but it is still over a portion of time, correct?
With this additional information, I would like to go ahead and make a motion that we move to a policy where the city does not charge back the special assessment for sidewalk repair due to boulevard trees.
And would that begin with your intent there, Mayor, with your motion? Would that begin with the current billing cycle?
Yes, that is my intent.
Okay, I'll second that. Discussion.
So for clarification, would that mean that it would be for the 2023 year, or would it be for the bills that we have sent out for the 2022 year?
Okay, so have you sent those bills out? Because when we were discussing this last time, Kevin had indicated that there was still time to do it for 2022. So I'm not sure logistically what's more manageable for city staff.
Sabrina.
Mayor, we have sent out several bills already, like, I think it's closer to like 300 at this point, maybe. So we have sent out a lot of bills already. There's probably some that we haven't sent. I know there's still some more coming, but the majority of the bills have already gone out.
Have we been receiving payment?
No, not yet.
If we could have Kevin offer some insight, maybe? Kevin, can you offer some insight?
Yeah, I think what the mayor might be alluding to is, we will be performing the inspections in 2022, right, later this fall. And those will be then constructed in 2023. At the last meeting, I talked about that because my inspections happen in the fall, but we don't bill it through the spring. So I think anything that is included in the 2022 sidewalk management program that is under the current miscellaneous concrete project, I don't believe we could retroactively go back because we do have a couple hundred invoices already sent out and people have already paid some of those invoices, so we'd have to cut checks for that. I think if the motion on the floor would pass tonight, then this would go in effect for the inspections that'll occur in the fall, so that later in December, when I send residents the letter, it would show that if a boulevard tree was causing the issue, it would show no cost to the homeowner.
Okay, so the current motion is for the current billing period of 2022 then. So, but you're saying that we've already, yeah, because I can see a mess here coming in. All
Yeah,
right.
I'll just update my motion to be beginning on 2023.
I'll second that. Right, any other discussion? And the question, and I guess, so the process for then would be that, first off, city engineers could inform people, right? Because they're inspecting that this one, like, that's what Kevin was saying. And I would also assume that citizens could request a relook or
Yeah.
no?
So what we currently do is if we feel that we are reasonably sure that the sidewalk is being impacted by the boulevard tree, we will put that in a letter and put a zero, it would be a zero assessment for this now. But if we do not know, we will put it on if we can't tell, assessment will show that they're going to pay for it. But if we take the sidewalk out and the contractor, we inform the contractor to make sure they have us come over and look at it or take a picture, then we will, if that happens, which it does happen,
Sure.
has happened this year, actually, we will go back and then reissue the letter to the person and tell them that there will be no assessment. Or
Right, that makes-
or make contact with them somehow.
That seems a solid process to me. Does anyone have questions on that? Right.
Kevin, do you agree with that process?
I
Any-
have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is this would apply citywide, not only to the sidewalk management program, but any boulevard tree that was caused the problem? I have an example here. I just had a sidewalk complaint and I went out. The sidewalk is heaved because of a boulevard tree. I sent them a repair notice. If this would pass in lieu of making the repair notice to the homeowner, if I would determine that it was a boulevard tree causing the damage, we would just repair it and not send a letter to the homeowner?
This would take effect in 2023.
Yeah, I would say this would be 2023. I think we would send a letter to the homeowner stating that we're going to be repairing their sidewalk, but there'll be no financial impact to the homeowner, is what I would suggest. Would you okay with that, Kevin?
That'd be fine.
Give them an estimated date that they'll be doing the work.
Yeah, we try and give them a time frame because trying to get, if we receive a complaint and there is a trip and fall, which we typically will have it fixed within 7 days.
Any further discussion or questions? Right, we have a motion with a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is construction staking services for 2022 utility project. Jared.
In your packet tonight, we have a proposal from SCH, Short Elliott Hendrickson, for $10,037.60. Due to the workload out on the utility project and everything coming together at one time, trying to make sure we're in a very tight time frame, trying to make sure the utility staking was done due to the as you know, when we were out in front of 11th Avenue there, but by the post office, St. Pat's Church, Center 90 area, that all happened in a very condensed time frame. We needed some assistance with staking. We did solicit from SCH to do this work. It is staff's recommendation to approve it. We do have funding through the capital improvements budget to pay for this work.
Okay, so it's already in the budget then?
Correct. We had money in the budget to cover this expense.
We'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that construction striking service for 2022 utility project be accepted.
I can second that.
We'll go with the mayor. All right, mayor seconded. Larry has made the initial motion to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item 7, 2022 Omni Center EPDM, which is ethylene propylene diene terpolymer roof replacement bid. Jared,
In your packet today, we do have the notice that was put in the newspaper. We are soliciting bids. We will be opening bids the morning of the council meeting and bringing them forward. This will be on the regular agenda for the council meeting. We will bring those bids forward and discuss them at the council meeting, but we just wanted to make sure we brought to your attention that we will be doing that for the council meeting. This is the flat area of roof between Arena 1 and 2. This is not to be confused. There's 2 different roof bids that are going on in the Omni Center. So there's another roof bid that we just completed that there's a change order in here for coating of the Arena 2 roof. So these are 2 different roof areas on the Omni Center, both included within the 2022 capital improvements budget.
so there's really nothing to actually vote
Yep.
on.
There's no action, no action needed. This is information only tonight.
Thank you. Any questions? Item number 8, change order number 1 for 2022 miscellaneous concrete project. Jared.
As part of our grants that we have submitted, we did receive STP urban funding for Midwest Drive between Theater Road and East Main Street. Once we started going through that, that area was within our 2022 sidewalk inspection area, sidewalk replacement zone. Going through this with the designer, and we've been through these projects before, all of the handicap ramps as part of the project must meet ADA standards as part of the project. With that going forward, we worked with the DOT. Since we're already in this area, we've solicited a change order to perform these sidewalk ramps to get them ADA compliant. By doing this work now and not waiting for the project, we can get all the work performed and not have any right-of-way work. So if we do this as part of the project with the state federal funding, we will have to have a right-of-way plat. We'll have to purchase temporary limited easements. We'll have a lot of expenses for not only the consultant to put together the right-of-way plat, but with the right-of-way agent to purchase it and all those things that we can bypass. We do it as part of a city project. So we feel this is going to be a cost savings in the long run. This project is slated to be constructed in 2024, but with having those ADA ramps, we can document them, put them into the plan set, and then they will be not to have to be completed as part of that project. So what we are requesting this evening is a change order of $33,141 to do all the work. You can see the various areas. We do have plan sheets performed by our consultant, the various areas where the work will be performed. You think handicap ramps, you think, oh gosh, it can't be much to it. Well, if you look at all those plan sheets and once you see them start doing it, you're going to realize there's a lot more to it than what meets the eye. We do have funds within the capital improvement budget slated for miscellaneous concrete work to cover these expenses. I really feel this is going to be a win for the city. It probably costs us another 10 to 15,000 to do the right-of-way plat and another 10,000 for the consultant just to get the right-of-way acquired. So we could almost spend as much as doing improvements on just hiring someone to do the work to get ready and then still have to do it.
And I know that the city for the last couple of years has been really working hard to become more ADA compliant.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is there a federal schedule for completion on ADA?
No, so we have a city ADA plan that was completed, and Dan Wick, our Parks and Recreation Buildings director, kind of is the curator of that plan. There's a variety of things in that plan that affect all departments, all areas, and we try and make progress on that plan every year through our capital improvements budget, operating budgets. So we try and make sure that we're always showing we're doing improvements, but there's no actual date. It's just that you're supposed to have it done, and you just gotta be, what is the right amount to be doing every year.
Yeah, anytime we can get closer to completion and actually do it within budget, I mean, to me, that is something that we should be looking at, but I'll make a motion to approve the change order for the miscellaneous concrete project to the sum of $33,141.
I'll second.
Second by Sabrina. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion passes. Next, change order number 1 for the 2022 Omni Center roof project.
This is the second roof project I was discussing. This is the ceiling spray on coating of the Arena 2 roof. They did find during that time that the Zamboni storage area should be coated also, should be repaired. This change order did amount to $3,250. We do have funds left over from the utilizing Omni Center funding for projects to cover this. This work, since they were already in place, we did, as staff, authorize this work to have it done because we really, it needed to be done and they were there and it was the most cost-effective solution to getting it done once it was brought to our attention. So we are still requesting that the change order be approved. But staff has went through this and did due diligence and did authorize it because otherwise it would have been a trip charge to get them back to do the work.
9 and 7 are not dissimilar though. Item 7 and item 9 are totally different.
Two different things, two different projects, correct, two different projects. Both projects were included within the capital improvement budget, approved capital improvement budget. I'd make a motion to approve change order 1 in the amount of $3,250 for the 2022 Omni Center roof project.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Jared, seconded by Larry. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes. Item number 10, 2023 urban forestry. We have grant application and a resolution. Jared.
In your packet tonight, we do have a request for a submittal of a 2023 Wisconsin DNR urban forestry grant. Katie Aspenson, our planning manager, has included a memo. She has assisted us with this for many years. We also have a resolution that would need to be passed moving this forward. We are requesting a 50-50 match, so that we are anticipating a $50,000 project with a $25,000, actually $53,000 project, but the $25,000 urban forestry grant would cover almost half of that cost. The last time our city urban forestry mapping was updated was between 2015 and 2017, so it is outdated. We do rely on that data very often. Our public works department does, and the planning department on everything from tree requests from citizens to what renewals need to be done. And we do decrease our liability because all the trees are inspected during this time. So we do actually end up with, if there's any trees that need to be taken down, we do get that. I can have Katie speak to it if you so choose. She's also
Yeah, I think
an expert on the grant, so.
Thank you. So tree inventories are considered one of the DNR's priority projects for funding. However, they have noted in my recent conversations that re-inventories are not as highly scored as new inventories, as the burden once created should be in the DNR's eyes be shouldered by the municipality. However, since we have been actively updating it, and with all of the new ash trees that we removed with the new plantings, it's more of a verification for all the reasons that Jared noted, reducing hazards. It's a tool that we use. It's up on our city webpage. Citizens can go up on search in their address and they can see what trees are outside of their home. So it's become a great public education tool. So the more we can update it and ensure its accuracy, the better information they're putting out for the public. So hopefully it'll be successful. One aspect of this application is we are required to have a resolution committing that 50% funding if approved by the DNR. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Yeah, making some notes if anyone wants to make any comment.
I make a motion to authorize resolution 19-2022 to authorize the city of Onalaska to file for the Wisconsin DNR 2023 urban forestry grant.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Jared, seconded by Sabrina. Any discussion?
What's the time period you're talking about?
Like,
The application is due October 1st and we find out before the end of the year. So if we're not successful, we can work with the CIP budget as needed if we need to remove that project if we don't receive the 50-50 funding. So we'll find out by the end of this calendar year if we are successful.
And this money, if we end up doing this, this would come out of capital improvements, correct?
correct.
So do we need to read the resolution before we approve it?
I do not believe we have to at this time.
I know it'll go to the common council, but. Yep. All right, just before we vote, just to make sure everyone knows that if we do vote this forward to the common council, what we're recommending on the Board of Public Works is that we're pretty much going to commit up to $28,000 off of next year's capital improvements budget for this. I mean, that's pretty much part and parcel of what this would be.
I would agree with that statement.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
By having this completed, does that help us obtain other funds from the state?
No, this is just strictly for our urban forest trees from the DNR. It's an annual program. So we have not gone after a DNR grant, I believe, since 2018. So that will also strengthen our footprint, our foothold, so to say, for applying for this grant because it's been a while.
If I can add, without having a city forester on staff, which is a position that we have reviewed over the years of, we do it by committee. So luckily we have a planning department that is willing to facilitate some of these grant opportunities and keeping track of citizen requests. Public Works Department also works with physically working on trees, taking some of the calls, things like that. The Engineering Department works on bidding out of new tree installations. So it's a group effort. This inventory is really the key to all of that because we have so many different people doing so many different things that keeping the data set, getting it reestablished after all the ash trees have been removed and getting it back to R1 will be a very useful asset for the staff, multiple staff that use this data.
Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The resolution 19-2022 passes. Next is item 11, 2022 final special assessment costs for various projects. Jared.
In your packet tonight, we do have included final special assessment costs for the 2022 miscellaneous concrete project and final special assessment costs for the 2022 utility project. Staff is recommending approval of these costs, noting that these do include the 7.5 administrative costs that the city chart adds to these costs.
What was the pass fee before? Was it always 7.5?
Yes, it's always been 7.5. In the 27 years that I've been here, it's been 7.5.
I can make a motion that we approve the finals, the 2022 final special assessment costs for various projects.
A second.
Motion to approve by Sabrina, seconded by Larry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, 2027 capital improvements budget.
Included in your packet tonight is the 2023 through 2027 capital
Sorry,
improvement
I'm
budget.
sorry, I misstated that. 2023 to 2027. Go ahead.
We will be specializing and getting into further detail on the 2023 budget, but for tonight, just bringing forward what the 2023 through 27 capital improvements budget looks like. As in years past, many projects submitted by various city departments. There's varying needs through departments. There's varying needs throughout the city. I believe I've been here many years. I think the city of Onalaska has really prioritized its capital improvements budget over the years and really has strived to keep up on things such as city infrastructure, city equipment, the various funding that has to go into this budget, whether it's police squad cars, it's planning projects, it's park projects, any of those things. It's really been a good thing, and I think you can see the fruits from that within our city. If you look at the 23 through 27 projects, we've got multiple millions of dollars of projects. Some of those projects will get moved out beyond the 5-year budget. Some of them may not ever come to fruition. We'll have to see what happens. You look at the 2023, which is what we will bring forward to next month's meeting, is a 2023 proposed budget. For October and November, we'll have to go through that budget year, get to a level that we feel that we want to forward on to the council for possible approval. As in other years, right now it shows 11,444,000 approximately in total projects. There's probably 10 million of that that's not funded through either grants or other bonding years. So in other years, we've been down to that anywhere from $3 to $5 million range. So there's projects that are, going to be prioritized, going to have to be gone through, and it's going to be a tough process. It always is every year. So I guess with that, I want to thank all the department heads for giving me information when we put together the capital improvement budget. It gets to be a long process. We start this right after the first of the year, compiling projects and starting to get them together. So one thing I will note as part of the 23 capital improvement budget is, as you've seen in all areas, we're seeing a steady increase in costs, whether it's paving of city streets, purchasing of equipment, any of those things with inflation and things like that. Our buying power is not what it was even 12 months ago, let alone what it was probably 24 months ago. So just as a side note, as that also.
So, yeah, I'm going to give out some general guidance. It's just guidance, majority rules on this committee. So when we come back and really start making some serious recommendations starting next month, obviously the majority goes any way it wants on what we recommend going forward to the Common Council. But last year, I think one of the smartest things that we did was we significantly reduced the amount of our capital improvements budget approval when compared to previous years, because we were at that time we were entering a significantly increasing period of inflation. And obviously I don't see that we're coming out of that within the next year either. And what that did was, I think, really set us up well. And I'd love to hear from Sabrina too, because as we've seen, a lot of these project proposals were coming back and we had to ask for more money because of the inflationary costs. So if we had gone forward with, based on the previous years, last year, we would have really had to spend a lot more money than what we really intended to. So I really think that set us up well. The goal last year was that we agreed on as a board was 3.8 million. I think what was approved by the Common Council was 3.9 and change, if I recall right. Which was below the, I think, 4.3, 4.4 we had historically done. I really would recommend as we look forward to try as hard as you can, stay within that 3.8 million again, because we will end up having additional costs guaranteed next year that we're not going to be planning on. Just to me, it's just obvious. Some of the things I would recommend that you look at as you try to prioritize yourself is public safety, obviously. It's one of the biggest things that any government entity is responsible for, is keeping their citizens safe, and that would include safe roads, emergency services, things of that nature, but also projects that mitigate future cost. Good example would be two that were on the agenda today that were approved last year would be roofs. Bad roofs, the cost just goes up because damage starts getting done if they don't get repaired in time. That would be one example. So just some general guidance. I would ask that we all on the board talk to each of the department heads, find out what's going on in their mind on where they would prioritize as well, and of course, why they would do so that we can make informed decisions here too. It is, Jared said this, it is a slog. And actually, I think we did really good last year. Yeah, please take time to do your homework. It's going to take hours and hours to really do this right, even with next month, and then it'll be hours and hours more when we go final in November. Sabrina, do you have any input?
Yeah. So we did borrow last year for 2022 capital improvements was 2,750,000. That included all of our bonding costs, which are pretty pricey when you come to council and all of that. And then we also had 700,000 for using ARPA funding in 2022. Looking at 2023, I'd like to stay around that 3,500,000. I wouldn't really want to go any higher than that, just because interest rates have gone up. And I like the idea of using some ARPA funding to offset some of that as we move forward.
Yeah, that's also one of the discussions that was actually passed by the Common Council too, was that, we really want to try to use that ARPA money as much as possible to avoid the short-term loans, which are higher interests.
The other thing I'd like to note in regards to the ARPA funding, I think we should strongly consider both on the Board of Public Works and the council to make sure we're giving a project towards the community. So something that we're giving back to the community. I've seen a lot of other municipalities of our size and larger have a whole web page of what they're doing with their ARPA dollars and how they're giving back to the community. So something to think about as we move forward as well.
Okay.
Steve Mayor's got her hand up.
Oh, Mayor.
Thank you. I was just going to ask one thing that's helpful for me when I'm going through this myself on my first and subsequent passes. Jared, can you point out which projects that we're somewhat committed to due to state funding and things that come down the hopper and it's really hard for us to back out of them? Could you identify which projects those are?
You want me to do that right now, or would you like that for next? I can do it right now.
Well, I was
Sure.
just thinking there's not that many, of the ones that it would be hard to back out of at this point.
So, actually the numbers kind of got cut off here when it scanned in, but item number 3, the Theater Road traffic signal renovation, the design for that, we are going to receive ST pre-urban funding for construction.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Number 3,
Number 3. Okay. The
uh,
entire project or A and B?
the A is the 75,000 is the only part that we're
That's it.
budgeting.
Yeah,
for
you're
this
right.
year.
Okay, yeah, I see it. All right.
Item number 4, the construction on East Avenue. We don't show the other columns. We will once we get to next month, but we'll have a capital improvements budget impact of approximately 55,000. We will have to do that in order to build. We are committed to doing that next year.
Well, 55K.
Yep. Item number 6, the Main Street, 25,000 toward design. They're going to start, the DOT is going to start design of that intersection also.
Sorry, you said that was number 7.
6.
Actually, number 6, yeah, that was number 6, not number
Sorry.
7. But also number 7, the right of way for the Theater Road PH roundabout. That is one that we've got local road improvement money. We would have to delay it a year, so I would, to keep that project moving, that is one that we've got state funding that we should probably also we've committed to via the improvements or the agreements.
It's design and right of way.
The design has already been budgeted. But the right of way for 60,000 will be, the design is already budgeted.
All right.
Other than that, most of the other projects in the list are all. Those are the only ones that come up to me.
What
at
about
this-
what about the path at Kinney? Highway
Yeah,
16.
We don't have an actual agreement for it because it's a local project, but we have committed to it. That is one that I would agree once we don't have an agreement, but I would agree that the number 13, the off-street path, we should budget the right of way. So we could get the right of way done in 23 and then build it in 24.
And so that's the design. You're talking number 13?
Design has been budgeted. It's the right of way item 13B.
13B, got it. Could you also, just to make sure we're all, coming from the same start point here, could you restate, like you did last year on Paiser ratings and what that means when you're looking at street projects?
Yep. So when we, the street reconstruction projects or the paving projects, we do have a Paiser rating, and that's on a scale of 1 to 10. And with 1 being low and 10 being a brand new street. So we have included on those projects where it's pertinent, we have tried to include a Paiser rating.
If I recall right, anything under 3 is where the road is starting to tear up.
Yeah, the road's in pretty poor shape once it gets below 3.
That's what I thought. Okay.
I will say, just internally discussing it with staff, as you can see, in the last few weeks, we've had our contractor out doing crack filling again in the city. I would put our streets up against any in our area. But with that, we must keep up on them also. And we did not, there's only about $500,000 of street paving within the budget. And with the price increases in the paving, that's not a lot of paving. If we do a utility project that's shown in this budget and the street paving that's in here, we'll only do about a little over a mile of street. So we've got over 90 miles of city streets. If we can get 45 years out of a street, which is a long time, but we do get that on most streets other than our high traffic, high volume routes, that means you should be replacing 2 miles per year. So even with what we've planned on that's in the budget, we won't be replacing our 2 miles. But we do understand that with the fact that if you look at our Paiser rating and our bar graphs at how we've done over the years, we've made improvements. So, but I don't think we should just eliminate all of the street paving either, but it's, those are all things we can discuss as we get into projects.
Generally speaking, we do try to not ignore any one directorate. I mean, how much again, we do anything we want as a board, but we do try to look at all directorates equally, I guess, and then look at the projects separately, if you will, to determine what we're going to recommend forward, from this board. So Samantha, if I could clarify then, so my memory may have been off. Was it 3.5 was our goal last year, and then we ended up going about 3.8? Is that where I got my 3.8 from?
Nope, last year we were at 3.461319.
So
just under.
about 3.5, yeah. Okay,
I'm a numbers person.
okay. That was what we finished on.
That's what we finished between borrowing and the ARPA.
Okay, so I'm gonna revise my guidance. It's really hard to do, especially when you see some of the high cost items that are important. And again, it's just guidance, you can ignore it, but I would almost try to stick within 3.25-ish or so, because I guarantee we're gonna end up going higher than anything we say. So that by using that as a guide, it'll really force us to make some of the harder decisions up front. Does that sound reasonable, Sabrina? Yeah, okay.
I will say, we tried to, I know just for the public works projects, we've put a price increase into those projects twice this spring. One in early spring, late winter, and one in early summer. So these projects have been following the trend of what the price increases are
Sure.
and trying to, so.
Okay.
Also Kevin's got his hand up, if we could acknowledge him.
I'm sorry?
He's got his hand up.
Oh, sure. Kevin?
Yeah, Jared, just thank you. Just following up on some of the projects we're committed for next year. Going through the list, item 37 would also be a commitment, right? That would be associated with the approval we just had at item 10 for the urban forestry, correct?
Be number 40, number 40.
40, okay.
That is correct. That would be at 28,000 though, not 50,000.
So out of the 50, we're pretty much committed to 28.
Correct.
If we get the grant.
Correct.
Jared, can I ask you another question?
Sure.
The truck that we approved earlier this year, is that item 24?
Oh, yeah, good one.
That is not, I'm just gonna make sure I'm getting to the right, the numbers got cut off here, so it's getting kind of
Well, my numbers are, do you want to see mine?
page here.
100K.
Sabrina, that,
Yeah,
the
that,
one or the bucket truck, 24 is,
no. Yeah, 24 is the bucket boom truck. We have not committed to that. Also in the list, we do have 21, which is tandem axle cab and chassis. We have not committed to that in any form. And we can discuss this next month, but that part of the reason that is in there is because the lead times are basically 2 years to buy them now.
There was something we approved.
We did, that's in the general, it's in the operating budget.
Okay, got it.
Committed to a sewer pickup truck and a water pickup truck in the sewer and water budget.
Okay, got it.
That's actually in our documentation. It's coming up as part of those budgets.
Okay, got it.
Sorry, thanks, Jared. I should have asked.
No,
Sir. Any other questions or anyone want any clarification as we go to do our homework over the next 30 days? Feel free. You can do what you want.
Yeah, I'll talk to them separately.
Okay. All right, hearing nothing, then we'll move on to item number 13. Pay estimates. I have 9 items on this list, and I will entertain a motion.
I can make a motion that we pay the monthly estimates. Do you need a total?
No, it's the 9 items dated September
items.
6th, 2022, and I'll second that. So we have a motion to approve by Sabrina, seconded by myself. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. That concludes the Public Works portion. Now we move on to the utilities agenda. That is starting with item number 14, the City of Onalaska Stormwater Utility.
Well, Sabrina, we're a tag team this a little bit between the public works director and finance director, but I don't know if Sabrina wants to start or.
I can start. In your packets tonight, starting on page 77 is the budget worksheet. So these are the Tyler sheets that we've talked about. For those of you that are new in the room, these are the Tyler worksheets. This is the true budget of what we're budgeting for 2023. Behind that, so behind the Tyler sheets, starting on page 81, is all of the support for the numbers that are listed in those Tyler sheets. So you can first see our personnel justification. We are moving forward without a COLA at this point. That will be what is presented to the council in October. So these numbers could change depending on what is decided. So you'll see a justification for non-union staff, then our part-time and seasonal staff. And then our insurance allocation of what the insurance costs are for the city for the whole year. I estimated a 10% increase in health costs. We won't know that until I think it's the 17th of September. We'll get our numbers and then it's open enrollment. So these won't be exact for a while yet, but just kind of an observation of what's there. And then we have our line items. This is what's prepared by the department head. So Jared prepared all of our line items. And that's for the next several pages. That goes to page. It goes to page 89. So those are all of our line items. Jared would be more than willing to answer any questions on that. Behind there is what the stormwater utility is expecting for replacement equipment for this year. These are items that are not in the capital improvement budget. These are items that we budget in the operating portion for the stormwater utility. Then behind there is the 5-year replacement projection. So 2023 through 2027. And then behind that is stormwater utility budget that Jared has to submit to, don't you have to submit those?
DNR.
The DNR, thank you. And that is listed out there. Those are all of the numbers that are within the budget. And behind that, so I'm on page 101, if I haven't lost anyone yet. On page 101 is the debt service for the stormwater. So this is what we will have to pay in debt costs in 2023. That's just kind of a summary of what everything is. But if you have questions, Jared and I are both here.
And I would go back to page 100 if you can. There's a budget summary that I prepare as part of the stormwater budget. And as part of the 2022 stormwater budget, at a budget of $1,118,437, which with the number of ERUs, which are equivalent runoff units, which is our measuring unit for stormwater, we had an ERU of $90.32. In 2023, we went through those costs with the number of ERUs divided in. We're proposing to raise that cost of ERU to $97.60 per year. With that, I did prepare a memo. Part of what is in that cost, some of the things I'll go through here. We did, in our budget in 2022, we did underestimate employee costs due to benefits and wages of 12,000. We did increase wages and benefit costs for 2023 by 15,000. We've got additional iPads and mobile services for 2,000. Vehicle maintenance for our street sweepers went up 3,000 because of the fact our street sweepers are getting older. We increased various operating accounts due to inflation by 11,000. Increase in lift pickup contractual charges was 2,500. Increase in computer software support was 3,000, and then our debt service went up 41,000. And our debt service is a combination of some years the debt service starts out and it builds, and this is one of those years where we it's a combination of the last few years of debt service that it just folded in on itself, and the debt service did go up quite a bit. So that's the reason for that increase, proposed increase in the ERU per year. Going back to the, we don't have it in your packet tonight, but if you remember back in March, we did have the auditor present their findings from the 2021 budget and how we came in. And we increased our cash balance in the stormwater utility by approximately $17,000, which brought our fund balance in that just up, it was still under $500,000. So I don't want to have our stormwater utility, we're not building a huge fund balance. So I still would like to continue to make sure we're not in the negative in our budget at the end of the year. Yes, with that, so staff is looking for, not only tonight, we do have to set an ERU rate for 2023 to recommend as part of the budget to go forward. So basically on our
8%.
agenda tonight, yeah, it is. And over, half of that is debt service. You know, part of it's due to inflation, just without how tight we run the budget in this department. We don't, you know, it's just what the costs.
It's not surprising. I mean, an 8% increase is a big jump, but again, like you said, it's not just the debt service. We have a significant amount of inflation this year, and we'll have to account for that, so. All right,
So I guess Sabrina, what would we like them to pass? We have to for sure pass an ERU rate for 2023, but do you want them to? Typically, we have, previous years, we have forwarded the budget from tonight's utility meeting to go to be into the, as submitted tonight, to be put into the regular budget to be gone through at the budget meeting. So,
so we need to look at an ARU tonight.
correct. Typically, we will set the ERU tonight at the utility meeting, and then it will be forwarded on as part of the
Okay.
overall approval of the budget also.
Yes, yeah, all right. Any other questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, sorry, it's hard. I don't know when people are gonna talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I started talking, so I didn't see your hand go up on this.
No, that's okay. First of all, I just wanted to just pause a moment and say thank you all. I know this is a huge project to put this together and it's very difficult. And a lot of decisions have to be made on your part as far as trying to have a good vision for the future and where our community is headed. And I know that we're all in great hands, having you all on the front line. So thank you. And then number two, on the topic of the ERU rate, I just want to advocate for really making sure that we do adjust it to what Jared has recommended. There have been past years when we wanted to minimize the amount of service rate increases we had for our community, which is also, you know, something that people appreciate, but what they don't appreciate is when these funds fall behind. So I think small regular increases have less of an impact on our community than holding it steady and then having a huge increase in later years. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve a proposed, or a 2023 ERU rate at $97.60.
I'll second.
Motion to approve the recommended or proposed ERU rate for 2023 by myself, seconded by Sabrina. Any discussion?
Can you repeat that amount?
$97.60.
That will be per year. It would be billed out on a quarterly basis at $24.40 on your quarterly utility bill.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? So, okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So we are now on to item number 15, City of Onalaska Sanitary Sewer Utility.
Actually,
Can I
Oh.
just add, in item 14,
Okay.
so A is the budget, B is establishing the ERU rate, and then C is the financials, so far in 2022. So those are on page 105.
Sorry, yeah,
Nope, you're fine.
slipped right by him.
105 to 109 is the financials for this year. Pretty standard. I'm comfortable where we're sitting. We've hit 40, we have 46% remaining for revenues. So we still have 2 quarters remaining of billing. So I'm very comfortable where we're at for revenues. And then with expenses, we have 66.9% remaining. A big portion of that is depreciation, which we record at the end of the year. So just kind of some things noted with the stormwater budget, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I would note, under the financials, under 290 contractual services, we will be over in that account this year, and part of that is because we commissioned the Main Street pumping station update for the the update of the design of that station for the proposed construction project. So that budget item will be over.
Any other comments? Now we move on to item number 15. City of Onalaska sanitary sewer utility. Who's taking the lead on this one?
I can take the lead. if
Okay,
you want me to,
got it.
Jared.
Yep.
So next in your packet, starting on page 111 is the sanitary sewer budget. In here, again, similar to our other budgets and what you'll see at budget time too. First, there are those Tyler sheets. So that is truly what we're putting in, what we're proposing for the budget. After that, the next item is our sewer methodology. And that I'll touch on this, but then I'll let Jared touch as well. So first, the first items are our treatment rates. So currently we are charged by the city of La Crosse, $2,365 per million gallons. In 2023, that price is going to go up to $3,315 per million gallons. So we currently charge off to the consumer $2.38. A 40% increase would put us at a total treatment rate of $3.33.
And that's the contracted rate through the new agreement. This will be the third year of the price adjustment. This should be the last major price adjustment increase to pay for the treatment plant upgrades, the $65 million of the treatment plant upgrades that are currently being constructed at the treatment plant. This will be a noticeable increase on your utility bill. So that 95 cents increase is per 100 cubic feet. I consider my family pretty average and we use about 1,700 cubic feet a quarter. So that's going to be almost $17 a quarter. My mother is a single user at her home. She runs in the 800 cubic feet range, so she's going to see an $8 increase. So per quarter. So it will be noticeable on the bills. But I still come to the discussions we had at the time of contract negotiations. And the city did due diligence and looked into building its own treatment plant, looked into various options. And this was still cheaper than the city, less cost for city residents than building our own treatment plant.
I remember those many months of discussions.
And if you look at the average cost for various municipalities in our region, we are still at the lower end of the spectrum.
What's the 40% increase on?
40% increase in what we're being charged from the city of La Crosse. So we're increasing.
Last year to this year?
Correct. Yep. But their treatment plant at that facility, their $65 million upgrade they're meeting new phosphorus regulations. They're meeting new regulations for their sludge removal and how to get rid of their sludge. They're doing upgrading facilities that were built. They're still using some of the facilities that are from the 1955 upgrade and the 1972 upgrade. So there's facilities down there that are 50 years old that they've gotten there, and they do a lot of maintenance down there. They've kept those units and things going, but it's just, they've outlived the treatment plant. They've just outlived it. It was time for a major, and this is a major upgrade at that facility.
This was a multi-month, very many months discussion that we had to have on what our options were we're going to pursue. I'd encourage you, Larry, I guess since you weren't here at that point, you certainly get more information from Jared, but also talk to Amanda as well. There were legal issues concerned with this. It could have been much worse. is the bottom line.
I went down there 2 weeks ago and there's construction going on all over the place down there.
Mhm.
So next listed on your sheet is also the transmission rate. We currently charge $2.48. We're recommending an increase of 3%. And then just listed below our flat rates, those are our current charges. We're not proposing an increase to those.
So the transmission rate is what we operate as a utility for all of our functions within the city. That's our debt service for our construction that you see in the budget. That's for operating supplies, lift stations, electricity, wages, everything under the sanitary sewer utility. We are proposing to increase that 3%.
We need to vote on that tonight.
We would need action to recommend a 2023 treatment rate and transmission rate and flat charge rate for 2023 was what I would, what we'd be looking for. Staff's recommending the 333 for treatment, the 255 for transmission and the flat charges as outlined. Continuing from 2022.
333, I have in front of me the 225. What page is the 225?
120, page 123.
What's on the same one?
Treatments at the top, transmissions in the middle. and the
255, got it.
flats are in the-
All right.
Flats are in the bottom of the table.
255, got it. Well, I will recommend that we approve a treatment rate for 2023 of $3.33 and a transmission rate of $2.55.
I'll second.
So, motion to approve the recommended rates for transmission and treatment by myself, seconded by Sabrina. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then, I'm sorry, the third item that needs to be approved tonight was, what was that? You said there was another one?
Flat charges on the bottom.
Flat
We're
charges.
keeping them the same. Proposing to keep them the same.
And I'll recommend that we make no changes to the flat charges for 2023.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by myself to accept the recommended flat charges, which is no change, and then seconded by Sabrina. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
If we could go back to item B, the sewer methodology, if we could just, I just want to talk about that just a minute.
Oh, sure.
15B.
Yep, I see it.
Under sewer methodology, we are proposing no changes at this time. Currently, the winter quarter is your winter usage. You are charged for actual usage in the spring quarter. And then your winter usage is used for the third and fourth quarter. So that is a item that does come up as questions from users at times because of the fact that there are, we don't read until that June 7th range. So if you are watering your lawn a lot in the spring, they do, some of those charges do sprinkle over into the sewer area. But at this time, we are not proposing any changes to our sewer methodology. I just wanted to bring that up as part of the discussion. I don't think we really, if there's no changes requested, we can just leave it, but I did want to bring it up and have it as a discussion point.
Okay. Any discussion, questions? Okay. I guess then we're on to the sewer financials.
Can I add one thing with the budget?
Sorry?
Can I add one comment related to the budget?
Sure, of course.
So the items that are listed in the budget, I did do an increase from what was budgeted for 2022. You can see that it's a rather large increase, but I think I was way too conservative in 2022 when I budgeted our revenues in 2022. So you do see a decent increase from 2022 budgeted to 2023. Main reasoning in that is because I was very conservative in 2022. Still being conservative in 2023, but we are noticing that increase of the 40% in the treatment rate and the 3% increase in the transmission rate. So I felt that those revenues would be, Jared and I both felt that we would easily be able to reach those revenues, but you.
And
feel like-
Sabrina, you'd be referring to page 115 of our packet tonight, the proposed revenues for in our Tyler sheet.
Correct, thank you.
If you look at page 116, that has our expense side of the ledger. You can see that under item 620, 58, 100, 290, it's about 1/4 of the way down the page. You can see that our 2020 activity for lacrosse contractual charges was 1,040,000. Our 2021 activity was 1,117,000. Our 2022 budget is 1,465,000, and our 2023 budget is just under 1,900,000. So you can see that our charges have went up quite a bit over the last 3 years, but hopefully this will be the last year of those increases.
Anything else before we go into, I guess, financials? All right, we go into the financials.
The next in your packet, this is on page 141 is where the financials begin and they go through page 148. In regards to our revenues for this year, the percent remaining is 36.74%. So again, I was very conservative in my revenue estimations for 2022. Again, with 2 quarters left, we will easily surpass our budgeted revenues. And in regards to expenses, that is on page 146. We have 53% remaining of our expenses for 2022. Again, large portion of that is depreciation. But we are sitting good in regards to expenses as well. For expenses, we're over halfway through the year, being already September.
Okay,
So we still have 53%.
Yep, of our expenditures remaining.
any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 16, City of Onalaska Water Utility.
So next in your packets, starting on page 152, is the budget worksheet for the water utility. And Jared notes this in his memo, but the water rates are set by the PSC. And we just went through a full rate case in 2020, correct, Jared?
2020, and it had a dual rate increase in 2020 and 21. So we split it over 2 years based upon when the infrastructure was installed that the rate case was based upon.
And likely we will have to look at a simple case rate in 2023, correct?
We'll have to look at it. It'll either be 23 or 24.
We won't do a full,
No,
but
a
we'll do.
simple rate case would involve, basically, they would give you anywhere from 4 to 6% as a simple rate case versus the actual rate case, full rate case, where they go through all of the expenses, all of the depreciation, all of the revenues, and get a rate of return that is substantial enough to keep the utility moving in a positive direction. Much more work to the full rate adjustment.
So therefore, for budgeted revenues, did obviously budget for the increase and the rates increasing. And then all of the expenses are listed in here, for the water, utility, which Jared would speak to if you have any questions. Very similar with the other two, we do list all of the, personnel justification for non-union staff, any seasonal staff that we have. Same with health insurance, and then the line item, the line items. The one thing that is different, and this is in the sewer and the water, you'll see a report that's called water wage allocations. This is, we allocate our water salaries to kind of match of, they're based on percentages for the PSC report. So that's why we're budgeting. That's why you see that water wage allocation. That total number of wages should equal our total wages between our union staff and non-union staff. And that PSC report we prepare yearly. So the auditors help with that preparation of our PSC report. And then again, all the line items, and then behind that is the new replacement equipment for the current year. Again, this doesn't hit the capital improvements budget, but this is just within the water fund. And then behind that is their 5-year replacement projection. And then behind that is the debt service for the water for 2023.
And obviously, I would just point out that the revenue for the water utility is very dependent upon what the year is. We do not, our water utility does not, our top 10 users are really not industrial users. We have top 10 users are such things as the school district, mobile home parks, things like that. So the one good thing is we don't sell a lot of water to an industrial user, which will bring in a lot of revenue, but we are not dependent on that industrial user either. With that, we also through the Public Service Commission rates have been bringing in enough revenue to cover what we had for expenses. And as Sabrina said, the Public Service Commission, we do have a lengthy report that we do submit to them with the help of Public Works staff, finance staff, and the auditors every year to get that sent in.
Is there any other questions or comments on the budget? Okay, so then we move on to B, which is the water financials.
All right, so lastly, in your packets, page 185 to 192 is the water utility financials through August 31st of this year. First, we start with the balance sheet. Behind that is the budget report, which is on page 188. Looking through the first 2 quarters of 2022, we do have 46.21% remaining in revenues that we have budgeted for. But I would make note, and Jared can talk more to this, usually our 3rd quarter is our largest quarter for revenues, and that's still to come. The water bills go out the end of the month. So usually by like
1st of October, they'll hit.
Yeah.
So that 3rd quarter bill includes all the irrigation during the summer. So that we've collected over half of our revenue is a good sign, because we'll collect probably 32 to 35% of our revenue in 1 quarter, in the 3rd quarter.
And then moving on to expenses, we have 61% remaining of our total expenses for 2022. Again, a large portion of that is depreciation, which we do at the end of the year, but we're still sitting well for this time of year.
Any other questions or comments reference the water financials? So again, this is You know, Mayor Smith had mentioned too, that the staff puts in a lot of work to get us this information. Now it's our turn. This is where our work starts. We have a lot of work to do on these boards and committees that deal with budget. Because by end of next month's meeting, we have to probably be at about a good 85 to 90% resolution, you know, as it goes forward to Common Council to make final decisions. We have some very tough decisions we have to make. Yes.
I would just encourage any of the elected officials that would like to come in, discuss. There's a lot of numbers in there, a lot of numbers, and it's a lot easier to sit down and explain things that are in the budget. If anyone's got any questions, concerns, clarifications on what numbers are in those water and sewer, stormwater utility budgets, they get complicated because there are so many accounts and so many moving parts. But we would be more than happy as staff to sit down with anyone that has any questions.
And I'd encourage everyone to, you know, swallow pride. I know I had to last year. There's a lot of stuff in here. We just don't, I mean, as council members are like, what is that? No problem with that, as long as you ask the question, what is that, before we make a decision. Yeah, we don't want to go into the decision mode without actually understanding what we're voting on. And there will be a lot of items, I guarantee, that we will have to ask for clarification on. So. Anything else on, let's see, water utility or questions over the budget process for that matter? Okay, then we are on item number 17. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Larry, seconded by Sabrina. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion passes. It is 8:14. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.